Hello and welcome, my name is Garrett. Today we're going to walk through All Hail King Jesus on keys. I love this song, it's a great keys song. You get a lot of pads moments to leave some room for the electric throughout, some cool electric parts throughout, but you're also doing some cool hits. You're certainly driving the song at certain moments, like the pre-choruses, the bridges, you're sort of driving the rhythm. So it's a fun, dynamic song. You're doing a few different things, and the song sort of builds throughout the whole song into these big bridges, and then drops down again. So I'll show you guys how I change dynamics. And then before I go through each part, I'll sort of walk through what I'm doing, explain why I'm doing certain things. Now, all of the tones I'm using, they are my worship keys template, specifically for Ableton Light. So if you have any version of Ableton, then you can use my template, and all the tones that I'm using are from that template. So they're stock Ableton plugins. You don't need to get any Omnisphere, Keyscape, any of that. So I tried to make it a very beginner-friendly template for you. Maybe you haven't used Ableton, maybe you haven't used your own keys tones before. Ableton Light is really accessible, so I think it's maybe like max $100 to get Ableton Light. A lot of times if you buy a MIDI keyboard, it actually comes with Ableton Light, a free Ableton Light. So look into that. If you have Ableton Light, if you don't have Ableton or aren't using any keys tones of your own, then I would encourage you to get Ableton. That way you can start to experiment with tones, because keys tone is such a major part of the worship genre. Anyways, so as I'm going through, you'll see me changing my piano tone, my pad filter, the volume of different things. I'll bring a synth in during the bridge to add a little bit. And you'll see all of that on the screen, on my Ableton screen. You'll see the knobs changing. I have those mapped to my MIDI keyboard. Awesome, so let's get right into it. Okay, intro, we're starting. This is sort of a wide open pad. I have it filtered down a lot. My piano's on a softer tone, so you're not hearing a ton of piano standing out at this point in the song. It's mostly just pad driven. So here's what this sounds like. All right, verse 1 is very similar to the intro. I brought my right hand a little bit lower to hit some of those lower notes, especially this verse 1. It's just nice to have those low bass notes in the keys. So here's what that looks like. All right, now pre-chorus. It's pretty simple, but this is my favorite part of the song, actually. Just you're sort of following the melody with your chords. So you'll see as I'm changing chords, you're sort of mimicking the melody with your right hand in all the chords you're hitting. And for this first pre-chorus, just chord changing each time. And then at the end of it, there's a walk up that I'll show you guys as well. Here you go. All right, then we go into our first chorus. This is a chorus that goes 1 to 1 sus. So we're just doing, in the key of G, we're just doing a G to G sus. Especially these choruses, we're leaving pretty open for electric guitar to sort of hit they have a little lead line that sounds really great in these choruses. So we're leaving space for them, having a pad heavy tone with some keys hits just on whole notes at this point. All right, verse 2, now we're going to start to drive a little bit more. We'll be doing sort of an arpeggio, basically just going back and forth with my right hand especially, driving a little bit with my left hand, and you'll hear I'm doing pretty low notes on the left hand, just because we want that bass to really drive as we're going into verse 2 up into chorus. All right, chorus 2. We've got pads still in a lot, and we're actually filtering up the pads, so now you're going to hear more of that bright pad tone. And I'm adding a little bit more rhythm on the right hand, but again, not a ton because we're still leaving room for the electric on this chorus. All right, now we hit the biggest part of the song. We're hitting the bridge. Instrumental is the exact same as the bridge, so you're hitting this big part. I have my synth brought in now for my right hand. You'll start to hear it a little bit on those higher notes. Pad filter is most of the way up, and I've brightened up my piano tone a bit, so you'll hear my piano also stand out a bit on this part. Similar to what we did pre-chorus, we're sort of emphasizing the melody while we're playing all these chords. So you'll see that a lot in worship music where you're hitting the melody, like the chords you choose them intentionally to sort of mimic the melody that's going on, even though you're playing full chords. So here's what the bridge looks like. All right, you made it through the big part of the song, and as we hit the down chorus, we're actually going to filter the piano down a bit again. We're going to bring the pad filter down so everything gets a little more mellow, softer, and we'll move down a little bit from where we were on the keys. And you'll notice I do a little bit of, not really an arpeggio, more of like a hand roll. So instead of hitting all of the notes at once like this, I'm doing sort of like a roll. It's very slight. You're hearing them close to the same, but it just gives a little bit of texture. I like the sound of just a slight roll sometimes on those low moments. Here's what that down chorus sounds like. All right, and there we have All Hail King Jesus, the full song. Obviously, this is a pretty dynamic song, so depending on your church's version, you might go back into bridges a few times, go back into some bigger choruses. Just adjust your piano filter, your pad filter, and then your piano tone. Just adjust those as you're going throughout the song. As it goes big, bring your pad filter up. You can bring your piano tone in a little bit more for the big bridges, and then bring it down for those low choruses. Other than that, the song's pretty simple and straightforward. I hope you enjoy the song. This is one of my favorites to play on keys. I think because it's so straightforward, and I just love that pre-chorus. All right, I hope this was helpful for preparing Sunday. Have a great rest of your day, and bye.